Hello everybody and welcome in to the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series live for the final time this season. That's right, it's the championship race at Kansas Motor Speedway. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You're watching Austin Green on Ghoster Racing Network. Well, boy, what a road it's been to get to this point, and tonight we are going to have an exciting one. Before we get into all the details, let's take a look at tonight's starting grid. Eric Hegdahl, the first of the Championship 5 for Mopower Racing. He will roll off from the pole here tonight. David Traylor for Turn 4 Racing, another Championship 5 contender. He will start in second. You've got Joe Yates back in third with Bill Hales in fourth. Clinton Woodby, the fourth of those Championship 5 contenders. Joe Yates, of course, who's going to be just a row in front of him, being the third of those contenders. Brody Benty back in sixth. Jay Stinson in seventh. And then Mark Beverly, the final of the Championship 5 contenders, will roll off from that eighth position. Jesse Wise will roll off from the ninth spot here tonight. And it's Jesse Calloway rounding out your top 10. Lance Thompson will start in 11th. It's going to be Evan Schilling back in 12th. Kevin Winker in 13th with Jonathan Herbert in 14th. And round out the small field here tonight, it's going to be Haas Beverly. He will start back in 15th. And, you know, the reason it is that smaller field here tonight is just because everybody wanted to give a little bit more respect to the Championship 5 and kind of, almost to a degree, let them have the track to themselves. So I think those are obviously going to be the 5 that we're talking about the most here tonight. And I think it's going to be a good race between them. Looking at the details here tonight, again, it is the championship race, final stop of the season, and it is one of the longer races of the season, 155 laps, 95% fuel, 4 sets of tires. That includes the one that you've got on. One fast pair of fixed setups as always, and then there will be a stage break still at lap 40, though. It isn't going to matter for any of these Championship 5. The only thing that matters for them is who finishes the highest of the 5 at the end of the race. Weather outside, 83 degrees, 49% humidity, clear skies, and winds at 7 miles per hour. Kansas Motor Speedway, 1.5 miles in length, high banking in the corners, curved front stretch, and a flat back stretch. Track temp going to be in the mid-80s for the start of this race. It has been a long road for all these guys to get here, but they've done it. 5 remaining, and 1 will be crowned a champion. Here we go for the final time. We're racing at Kansas. Lap 1 is going to go to the man who led in points coming into this race, Eric Hegdahl. David Traylor, though, on his outside. Joe Yates back in the third position as he is side by side with the 63 of Brody Benty. We are going to have, well, quite a few different things going on here tonight, but I mean, first and foremost, the big thing that makes Kansas so special is the way it races. I mean, early on, similar to what you'd see at a super speedway, these big packs, a lot of drafting, and I think there may have been a little bit of extra practice gone into this week for all of your Championship 5 contenders, which, by the way, are highlighted there on the scoring tower with the P next to their name. And you saw last week there was 10 Ps, now we're down to 5. And it is, again, in case you missed it off the start, David Traylor, Eric Hegdahl, Joe Yates, Clinton Woodby, Mark Beverly. And that is your 5 racing to be crowned a champion here tonight. And again, they will have P's next to their name all night, both on driver card and on the scoring tower. Already 3 laps complete and haven't necessarily had a lead change just yet, but they've certainly continued to fight really hard for it here. Joe Yates cutting the track. Again, you can utilize the apron here really at any point of the racetrack, but down the front stretch is where it's kind of most helpful because you cut quite a bit of track distance off there if you get all the way down hugging the grass versus, say, running by the outside wall. Just as I said, we had no lead changes. We're going to get the first one here tonight. David Traylor on the outside was able to peek a nose out in front there down the backstretch. We'll see what momentum he gets here off of 4. That outside should be the preferred lane. Now, these cool temps, I think, are going to help that inside stay strong a little bit longer, but I think the general idea here at Kansas is you want to try to, if you're saving tire, this is start out on the bottom like Hegdahl and Joe Yates are doing, run the bottom for a little bit, and then once you get maybe 15, 20 laps or so on the tires, then you're going to start to migrate up the track as the handling starts to go away. That lane's going to become more favorable, and then if you've got fresher tires than anybody else, it's going to be a matter of can you beat them to the top of the racetrack. Again, we see guys in the middle right now, but nobody up by the outside wall, which I can promise you we're going to see by the time this race is over. But still 2x2 as they dive into turn number 1. David Traylor on the outside. The 63 of Brody Benty has been giving him a little bit of draft support down the straightaways, but not doing much in the corners, of course. And then Mark Beverly in the 13, who currently sits in the last position of all of your championship 5. We'll take a ride on board here with Mark. And he is running the inside, caught in a lot of dirty air though right now, so there's not too much he can do at this point. I think he's content to just ride where he's at. I mean, he's got the draft pulling him, kind of holding him at least within reach of this first group down the straightaways, and then through the corner here, he is just searching for any clean air he can get. Finds a little in the middle there on entry, but whoa, Jay Stinson really sideways there off the corner in the 98. He was able to get it sorted back out, but man, that was a big moment for Jay. Clinton Woodby currently sitting in 4th of the championship drivers. Joe Yakes in 3rd. Eric Hegdahl. So, oh, Brody Benty in the wall, the 63. Takes a pretty big shot off that outside safer barrier just before the flag stand. Looks like he's able to get back rolling. We will not get a caution, but that 63 sustained a bit of right front damage there, it looks like. Thought I saw a bit of a crumple. And that was, I don't know if he got any help, if he just got loose. Let's back it up here real quick and see if we can't figure it out. And I know it's early, but doesn't mean these guys aren't racing. Again, the stage may not count for anything in of itself, but track position is going to be important all night here. And yeah, it just looks like the 63 is up there. He's trying to run the cushion, and he's just going to get a little bit too much there. And, you know, I know iRacing's obviously a little bit different, but the general idea, of course, in real life, when you run against a wall like that, is that you're getting that little bit of that pocket of air almost that separates the truck between the wall, and that helps create a little bit more side force. And you know, the general idea of going for that in the game can work, but when you get past that limit, then you're just in the marbles. You're going to get into the outside wall, which was exactly what happened right there to Brody Benty. David Traylor continues to lead, but now he's gotten clear, and he is able to use whatever part of the racetrack he wants to, as he leads up top right now. David, one of the guys that we do have carrying an onboard camera for us here tonight. Now, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if anybody watching at home would have caught it, but made a little promo video for these guys, put in the Discord here. I think it was actually on Monday. It was either Sunday. I think it was Sunday. Point being that the racing that we kind of made in that was a little bit supposed to be what we wanted to see here, but maybe not what we were expecting. And I think we've actually beat that here so far. I mean, I have not seen really anybody looking like they've been doing a lot of tire saving, except maybe that 11 of Eric Hegdahl. But just about everybody else, it seems like they have been right foot forward since the drop of the green. Kevin Winker, good to see him back in the race here tonight. It's been quite a few weeks actually since we've seen the 42. Of course, was probably going to be one of the drivers who would have went deep. Maybe we would have saw him in the championship 5, but just had a leave of absence, not sure what for. But either way, good to see Kevin back out here tonight, and we'll see if he can maybe add another win to his season here, and essentially, of course, what would be his first one of the playoffs, even though he is not a playoff driver. So as David Traylor continues to lead, how about we talk a little bit about the stats coming into tonight? And I say stats, but more or less the wins for these championship 5. So we'll start things off here with David Traylor in the 54 machine. And boy, what a season it was. And it was crazy in a couple different ways, but David Traylor, the driver out of Loxley, Alabama, for Turn 4 Racing, only captured 1 win this season. But remember, he was actually leading the points battle all the way up to the second to last race. I guess I should say the last race going into the championship. Led before the last week, but did not lead coming into this week. Although that doesn't matter, of course, because it's just going to be who finishes the highest out of everybody. And then we move back to who sits in second right now, and that is Joe Yakes. 2 wins on the season. First one came back at Atlanta, and then the second one, the more dominant performance, I believe it was at Charlotte for Joe Yakes. And I'll double check that in just a moment. But before we talk any more about that, we move on to Mark Beverly, who has 1 win this season, driver out of Salem, Ohio. And then last but certainly not least, or rather 2 more to go, Eric Hegdahl with 3 wins on the season. That's the Mopower Motorsports driver at a Travelers Rest, South Carolina. And then last but not least, Clinton Woodby, who only got 1 win this season at Richmond. And boy, I'll tell you what, he was certainly maybe the underdog pick throughout the entire playoffs. Just seemed like he had to keep fighting and fighting to just barely stay above that cut line. but he managed to do it, and all the work paid off. We always talk about how close it comes down to at the end of the season and who makes the championship versus who doesn't. Now, by this being a championship 5 instead of the championship 4, it did help that one extra driver with a chance that maybe wouldn't have made it. In this case, I believe it was Clinton Woodby who came in running last in the points here tonight, and sure enough it was. But the gap between him and Jay Stinson at the end of the season, Clinton ended with 264 points, Jay Stinson with 251. And so kind of that, I don't know if we want to call it that, maybe that buffer that helped Clinton out by being here pretty much every race. I mean, I know Jay got off to a little bit of a late start in the season, but I wonder what happened if things would have been a little bit different in that scenario. But how about this? We've still got plenty of 2x2 action, and there's yet to have been a major breakaway. I talked about David Traylor when he took the lead. Has been hanging around about 0.3 of a second, but really no more gains since that point. So everybody's going to try to get lined up here at some point, but we'll have to see how long this all lasts. Eventually, tires are going to start to wear out to the point where it will no longer be easy to pass, or at least not as easy as what it seemed like it's been so far here tonight. There's Bill Hales in the 53 machine as going into tonight. Now remember, Bill actually got, I believe he got the win last week. So I'm trying to remember, we were at Talladega, and I know the NOMA Truck Series, a lot of these guys run the same ones, but I know it was one of the craziest finishes that we have ever seen, and especially for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series last week at Talladega for the cutoff race, where Colton Hardy had to win the race to make it to the championship, and it was a drag race photo finish between him and Bill Hales at the start-finish line, where Bill Hales won it by less than 1,000th of a second. And that was the difference between Colton Hardy and Clinton Woodby, and who made the championship 5. And so almost 20 laps into this 155-lap affair. And again, there will be that stage break on at lap 40. So looking at fuel, with these guys being about 95%, it's going to be close, but I think they're going to be good to go through this entire first stage without having to make a pit stop, as Eric Hegdahl looks to the inside here of Kevin Winker. That is going to be the battle for 4th. Then we go back just to the spot behind those two, and Mark Beverly in the 13 currently sits in that 6th position. It's the onboard view with Mark Beverly, and his one win, I believe, and again, it's been quite a while, but I believe his one win came all the way back, if you remember, early on in the season. In fact, I think it was the 4th race into the season. This goes all the way back to January, where Mark Beverly got the win at Rockingham. And so, I mean, you think back to that, that's quite a few races ago. I mean, you almost wonder if, you know, Mark's kind of due for one here. Maybe tonight's his night. And another thing I should note is that a championship driver does not have to win the race. They just have to be the highest finishing of all the other championship drivers. So, you know, for example here, let's say David Traylor, who runs first, Jay Stinson, who runs second. If Stinson takes the lead, wins this race, David Traylor finishes second, Traylor would win the championship because he would be the highest running truck of everybody else. But I mean, it plays out different every season, and the way it's playing out here tonight, that 98 machine, he is on rails right now, as he has been slowly hunting down the 54 of David Traylor now. You know, it's kind of that thing where if you're David Traylor right now, you're not too worried about what Stinson's doing. You're worried about what Joe Yates is doing, who sits back in 3rd, and he's got a little bit more of a buffer to him. So we'll see what these two do here. If Jay will go for a pass, or if he'll try to maybe work with them here a little bit. And how hard is David Traylor willing to fight? Just 22 laps complete, not even to a green flag stop or a stage break yet. But maybe he feels like this clean air is important enough to try to hold on to for the next 18 laps. And so as they cross the stripe that time, you continue to see some of the guys cutting that apron down the front stretch versus some of them that aren't. And I talk about the time that you can make up, especially if you catch a draft. But let's go to the onboard view here actually for Jay Stinson. As Traylor with a bit of a slip up there off of 2, but hey, they're both loose right now. That's why they're at the top of the racetrack. You saw Stinson slip up a little bit right there as well. And Jay's able to get the nose of that truck just a little bit low on entry to the corner. But then as he gets into the wake here of David, he just starts to get tight. But watch as they go down the front stretch here. Both going to cut the apron, but Jay cuts it a lot more, and that gives him a huge run. As you saw, Traylor decided to not go below that below the racetrack, if you will, onto the apron, and by doing so, he lost probably about a tenth or so. As Stinson, right now, just stalking in the footprints. He's waiting to see if Trailer's going to slip up. I don't think he's necessarily trying to force the move yet, but he's certainly willing to make it if Trailer makes a mistake. Now, the trademark for Kansas, of course, being that everybody eventually runs that outside lane all the way up by the wall, but as a result of that, if you've got a big enough run, the trademark move here is the slide job. Going to dive it down all the way to the bottom of the corner as soon as you can on entry. Stay in the gas, and see if you can't get clear of that guy that's running the top of the track and try to slide up in front of him, and then see if you can't defend potentially a crossover or something of that nature. But here you go, Jay Stinson looking to the inside. No dive, or rather, no slide job this time. So it looks like he's just going to try to see what his truck can do on the bottom of the racetrack. It doesn't do too much there, as he's not going to be able to put much fight to the 54 of David Trailer, who's able to hold on to the lead right there. And so Jay will slip back. He'll have to regroup, try to gain some of these spots back. Meanwhile, Clinton Woodby and Bill Hales, a little bit of a heated discussion between the two, or I guess I should say heated battle, as Bill runs 7th, Clinton in 8th. And Clinton going to try to take that spot here from the 53, at least before we get to the stage. Again, I mean, I know there's no points on the line, but hey, trying to have track position for that final stage, it's never a bad thing. As Brody Benty in the 63, you see he has fallen a lap down. I wonder if he maybe went in to try to fix some damage. Either way, that's going to be kind of a tough recovery for the 63 here, unless we get a caution at some point. And how about Lance Thompson? Good to see him back on the field here tonight. We saw him make a couple playoff races, although didn't make a playoff appearance. And so Lance Thompson, the driver out of Union City, in the 21, just looking to see if he can have a decent run here tonight, see what he can piece together, maybe gain some momentum before the start of next season. Which, by the way, we've got the schedule on tap that we'll talk about at some point in this race, probably during that long-awaited final stage, which is going to be over 100 laps. So, you know, this 40-lap sprint here, well, I call it a sprint. I mean, it's still probably a good medium to long run, but it's going to feel like a sprint, especially in this final stage when you get 40 laps down and you realize you've still got 40 more, plus probably another 20 more after that you got to do. And so for David Trailer to find this kind of rhythm early where he's been able to get out in that clean air, and I think he did it at the perfect time. You saw how long him and Hegdahl were battling, and I mean, I'll say I'm surprised at how far Hegdahl has fallen back in this field. Granted, he's only back to 5th, but he was your pole sitter, and, you know, running the bottom as long as he did, I thought for sure he'd have better tires and would start to actually track these guys down as the run went on, but that doesn't seem to be the case. The case for the driver out of Travelers Rest, South Carolina, as he runs in the wake of Kevin Winker, and he's still got Joe Yates, Jay Stinson to deal with before he would be anywhere close to trying to track down a 54 of David Trailer. And so most of the field starting to get a bit more strung out and single file here, as that's Jesse Wise in the 69 that passes by. Just behind them, Haas Beverly takes that spot away from Evan Schilling. That'll now put him up 5 positions from where he started this race at, and up to that last spot inside the top 10. As Haas is looking to slide up here, and he'll be able to do just that. Schilling thought about a crossover, but thinks better of it. And the 4 of Jesse Calloway, another driver who, of course, made it into the playoffs. Made a pretty good run and had a couple of chances to advance a little bit deeper than he did, but things just didn't quite work out for the driver out of Granite Falls, North Carolina. But he's still here tonight, and again, looking to see if he can round out the season, potentially on a positive note. Well, after catching early, or rather, I guess through the middle portion of this run, Jay Stinson has since faded and just continues to fade. That 98 truck, the gap is now back up to about 0.7 of a second, and I just wonder if, you know, all that time that he was running the outside in the wake of David Trailer, was he burning his stuff up a little bit, and then that move he made to the inside, all the gap that he lost from that, is that maybe what's going to end up pushing him too far out of the draft to necessarily catch back up to the 54? And I will say, I mean, I've had the chance to do quite a few championship broadcasts for different leagues and events, and I don't think I've seen one quite as stacked as this. Usually when you come into the championship race, you have an idea of who you realistically think is going to win, and if somebody else gets it, it's a big shocker. But I mean, you look at the resumes so far this season for David Trailer, Joe Yates, Eric Hegdahl, Mark Beverly, Clinton Woodby. Each one of them has a strength and a reason that they're here, and you could name part of their driving style that would give them a good shot here tonight. David Trailer, course, being one of the guys who is the best of the best when it comes to running the long run side of things. Eric Hegdahl has found a lot of speed even without teammates in the second half of the season. Joe Yakes got the 2 wins, one of them, of course, or rather both of them at 1.5 miles. So he knows how to get the job done at tracks of this size. Mark Beverly got the job done when things started to get chaotic at Rockingham and a short run at the end. So if we get any late runs, Mark Beverly, you know, he's going to be a threat, at least in that regard, also on the long run, of course. And then Clinton Woodby, the 92, seems like he has speed at just about every single track we go to. And he's one of those guys that, as the race goes on, he continues to learn and he gets better and better. Starts to make those passes and work his way back to the field, but still fighting for this 7th position. Him and Bill Hales have been very, very aggressive towards each other. You wonder if maybe that 92 would be starting to get a little bit frustrated. Bill not doing anything wrong, of course, but he can't seem to get around him here, and he knows that we're getting close to this stage break, and he'd like to have the best track position he can, and that's, you know, potentially either getting the inside or the outside versus where he is now versus where he could be if he's able to take that position away before we get to lap 40. All right, so David Traylor continues to lead. Jay Stinson in second, now back to about 1.2 seconds back as Joe Yakes sits 2.6 seconds back. Eric Hegdahl right in that same boat. Hegdahl here might be looking to set up a pass on Joe Yakes. And by the way, how about the split in manufacturers for your Championship 5 as well? David Traylor running a Toyota Tundra. Joe Yakes got himself in a Chevy Silverado. Eric Hegdahl in a Ford F-150. And then you've got Mark Beverly, another driver that's in a Ford F-150, and Clinton Woodby looks like he is in a Chevy Silverado. So we've got all 3 manufacturers being represented, and drivers, no teammate, or I don't believe we have any teammates. I guess I should maybe double check on that, but I don't think any of these guys are teammates that are in here tonight. Yeah, it doesn't look like it in terms of the Championship 5. So, you know, David Traylor, Clinton Woodby, Eric Hegdahl, Joe Yakes, Jay Stinson, Mark Beverly, none of those are affiliated teammates. So you wonder how that affects things here if we were to get a late caution and things maybe get a little bit more aggressive. I mean, we know that some of these guys like to do things clean. Some of them like to get a little bit more physical, but I always felt like when it's a championship race, things are a little different. That aggression level changes, and I think some of the rules that maybe seemed like rules that were set in stone at one point in the season don't so much feel like they're set in stone anymore. But coming to 2 laps to go this time, or rather we just grabbed 2 laps to go on the stage here for David Traylor. And of course everybody gonna have had the option to pit that time to try to maybe flip some track position, but it doesn't look like anybody's gonna do that. Everybody content to stay out on the racetrack and finish this stage. And so if it remains like this, Brody Benty should get his lap back at the end of the stage as David Traylor crosses the line. And that signals 1 lap to go here in stage number 1. For the back, side by side, there it is, the move. Eric Hegdahl to the inside here of Joe Yakes. Looking for a bit of a slide job here. He's got the clearance for just a moment. Tries to slide up, but he's not going to be able to do it. And now Yakes will have a big run. Can the 11 find enough of a side draft to hold him at bay? Doesn't look like it. Hegdahl going to make one more leap to the bottom. Don't think it'll be enough. But for David Traylor, it's going to be enough and a little bit more. He will take stage 1 at Kansas. And I can tell you the reason the excitement's not there. He got the stage win, and that's something to be excited about if it was any other race. Well, good news is the 54 truck still has speed. The problem is he doesn't care about the stage here tonight. He wants to see himself leading that last lap in the race, which is when, of course, the trophy is given out. So good job for David Traylor early as Stinson and Yakes round out the podium. Eric Hegdahl had to settle for 4th there in that battle as Kevin Winker is going to wind up in 5th. By the way, take a quick moment to thank all the sponsors that, of course, hopped on board for Asphalt Outlaws Racing this season and everything that they helped provide for these guys. And I shouldn't miss any of them. If I do and you're watching, please let me know. But, I mean, we've had so much support from every single one of the sponsors I'm about to name, including, and none of them necessarily title sponsors. I think the partner one may have been the winning bid. But putting that aside, you look at, of course, Nirjuana. I think this was their first season hopping on board. Everything they've done, and then Sonic Graphic Design, everything they've done as well. So again, shout out to all the sponsors that helped to make the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series possible, and the drivers as well. They put on a heck of a show this season. High car counts all the way up until we started to get a little bit deeper into the playoffs, which, you know, kind of expected to a certain degree for just about any league, but they're going to make pit stops here. We'll wait till they get out, and once they do, we're going to get an interview first off with your stage winner, David Traylor, but then hopefully also get a couple interviews here with some of the other Championship 5 contenders, rather, before we get back to Green Flag Racing. All right, so Traylor looks like he's going to prop up the right side. So, yeah, he's going to end up taking 4 tires, it looks like here. And so Eric Hegdahl, Joe Yakes, and Mark Beverly, along with Clinton Woodby, all going to be on the same strategy here. At least I would think, yeah, you just can't do 2 tires here. I don't see that working out in pretty much any regard. But we have a chance here. See if we can get a word here with Stage 1 winner, David Traylor. Hey, David, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Austin.
Well, Stage 1 winner, and, you know, I know you're probably not as excited as you would be normally because it doesn't really matter here tonight. You're looking at the end goal of this race, which is to be crowned a champion. How's the truck felt so far here tonight, and how you feeling about your chances?
So far, actually pretty good. I kind of tried a couple different things that I haven't yet this week there in Stage 1. I knew I'd have a reset point here. Now the real race is on. I expect we're gonna have to hit some green flag pit stops. But overall, I actually learned a couple things that I can do. Learned where to be. Learned how to make the truck do what I want here. So I think having track position is going to be key here. Air is huge. So we'll see how this next 113 laps turns out.
Certainly will. Well, we appreciate you giving us a quick word. Congrats again on the stage win, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, Austin. Hope I'm talking to you later.
Absolutely. All right, and now we'll pull in the second highest running of your Championship 5, and that is Joe Yakes for Loose Lug Nuts. See if we can get a copy here. Hey, Joe, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do. How you doing?
Good. Well, man, we're getting ready to go green here in just about a lap and a half, but before we do, truck's looking pretty good here tonight, but again, only crowning one winner, so you got to kind of go all out for it. What adjustments can you try to make on track? Is it something with the driving style or tire saving to try to maybe get a little bit more speed here for the 54?
Well, I mean, all that I have to really go off of is how far he pulled away from me and how much my tires wore. So we got to make a few adjustments behind the wheel. That's pretty much all we can do. And hopefully we can bring the fight to him this time. That's the plan anyway.
All right, well, we appreciate you giving us a quick word. Joe, we'll let you get back to it and get ready. Good luck the rest of the way. We'll see if we're talking to you at the end of this thing.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, and we'll see. Might be able to sneak in one more here. Eric Hegdahl in the 11. See how he's feeling right about now. Yeah, it doesn't look like Eric's actually hanging around right now, so I think we're going to get a word here with Eric. We'll skip over to Mark Beverly for the moment. Hey, Mark, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, what's going on?
Not much, man. Well, so far, maybe lagging a little bit behind right now. What are you feeling behind the wheel of the 13, and what adjustments do you need to make?
I just need to keep some tires under me. I don't know. I'm trying to get used to this new truck package here, so it's definitely a little different. Just trying to save some tire and maybe, get a shot here at the end. So.
All right. Well, we appreciate you giving us a quick word. We'll send you back down. Good luck here on the final stage.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, and I know they were quick, but we were trying to get a couple of these guys in, at least Championship 5-wise, to hear how they were feeling about the way their trucks were handling. And from what I've heard, David Traylor, the only man that's happy with it right now. Joe Yakes kind of making that, I don't want to say it's a sarcastic comment, but almost to the idea of he knows that Traylor's fast, and he's not really 100% sure what adjustment to make, but he is going to try a couple to see what he can do. Green flag back in the air, the final stage underway, and it's going to be 110 laps total here left to go at Kansas. Up front, David Traylor quickly able to sneak away with the lead, but this time he's going to have a lot of work on his hands because he's not going to be able to pull away this early on in a run. He is going to have these guys up here fighting, and I think that Joe Yakes and Eric Hegdahl, Mark Beverly, Clinton Woodby, all of them for that matter, realized that with how important clean air seemed to be for the 54 in that first run, I think you're going to see them fight a little bit harder for it here this run. Hegdahl going to slide in line just behind that 87 there of Joe Yakes. And now, by the way, there's no scheduled cautions. You do have that one fast spare, so you can afford to, maybe get yourself caught up in an incident if you knew we were going to have a caution, and there's no guarantee of that. You can get caught up in an accident, use that fast spare, but there's no caution to catch you back up to the rest of the field, then you're not going to have any luck there anyway. By the way, if we do get another caution, we will get an interview. Try to get an interview with your other two, Championship 5, including Clinton Woodby and Eric Hegdahl. Appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight. Again, you're watching the championship finale for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series here under the lights at Kansas Motor Speedway. By the way, remember what track temp started at? Mid-80s. Guess what? Hasn't changed, so that makes me think handling's not going to change much either. And what do we say about Joe Yakes? That he realized this track position might be important enough to fight for even early on in a run. And the 87 is working right now, trying to see if he can hold enough of a run to maybe try to pull off a slide job here into turn number 1. We're going to see, can he make it work? He's trying, but I don't think he's going to quite have enough speed to do it. Yakes has to bail out of it. That allows Trailer to keep his momentum. And remember, the longer that these two stay side by side, you're wearing the tires out on both of them. But, I mean, I would almost have to think, at least from what we saw through that first stage, that if you're Joe Yakes running the bottom this hard, he might run himself out of tires before David Trailer would by just defending on the top. And so as those two continue to battle, we've got a battle out back just behind that. Looks like, well, just as I said it, looks like they all seem to fall back down. Eric Hegdahl has pushed his way up to 3rd. Mark Beverly sitting in 4th. And then Clinton Woodby, just one spot out of the top 5. He sits in 6th. Joe Yakes with another good run, but no cigar into turn number 3. As he'll duck the nose just a little bit lower, looking to see if he can get some clean air. And you know what, let's take, while on the onboard view, let's take a look at the dashboard speeds. I mean, you hear the throttle time for these two right now. As they work down the front stretch with a little bit of draft here, Joe Yakes is able to hit nearing low to mid 180s, and then as they get in the corner, you hear just that brief burp out of the throttle on entry, and then quickly back to the gas and trying to arc that truck down. But whoa, that was a big moment right there from Joe Yakes, as I think he was trying to get a little bit too much, and his race almost went up in a big way right there. It's a view from the onboard roof cam of Eric Hegdahl. As he watches these two battle, he's going to try to separate himself from that group that he was just with and see if he can track these two down to tag on and make that a 3-car battle for the lead. With just 51 to go, now we maybe start to consider fuel strategy. I said 51 to go, I meant to say 51 complete. But now we start to consider fuel strategy. Clearly they can make it at least 40 laps, but now you start to ask yourself, how much further than that can they go? Can they make it to maybe 50? If they can make it to 50 laps on a run, can they maybe make it to 55? I think if they can get to 55, they may have a shot at making this thing on just one stop, but it's going to all depend on when they make that first pit stop, green flag pit stop, I should say, here are the Knights. And of course, at a track like Kansas, when you go in, you're taking 4 tires and fuel, even if you're waiting, but who knows, maybe somebody throws some strategy play into it. But how about the racing we continue to have up front between these two? 3 wins in total between Joe Yakes and David Trailer. But Trailer right now on the outside, he has been locked in and dialed up on that 3rd lane. He just continues to find a way to make it work. Either hugs the guy below him on the entry to the corner a little bit, or just runs up top and has enough momentum to hold it without having to worry about a slide job getting pulled off on him. And so Yakes is going to continue to try to work this bottom, and I just don't think it's going to work. At some point, somebody's going to have to give here, and there will be contact. Or I wouldn't be surprised, at least, if there was. The question's going to be, who commits first? Does Trailer send it in one of these times on his door and try to pinch it down, make him lift, or does Joe Yakes kind of try to do the opposite, send it into the corner and shoot clear the 54 by the middle to exit of the corner? 54 laps now complete, still side by side for first. Further back though, looks like everything's gotten single file. Brody Benty, Haas Beverly, and Bill Hales have lost the lead group, as has Evan Schilling and Kevin Winker. Some of those due to damage, some of those maybe due to some sort of other issue. As look at that, we turn it away for about half a second, and guess who? Joe Yakes now finds himself as the leader here at Kansas. Yakes gonna try to fend off this 54 for all he's worth, and that too. That's pretty impressive for a driver to be able to kind of tell you in the interview just before you go back green in the stage what they think they need to do, what they think they need to try different, and then, I mean, to go out there and just flat out do it so far. Joe Yakes has certainly found that speed that he may have been looking for there through stage number 1. With 55 laps now complete, it's going to put us with exactly 100 laps to go here at Kansas. As things have started to, again, single file out, I think it gives us, well, I may have spoke too soon here, almost 3 wide down the front stretch there between Mark Beverly, Clinton Woodby, and I think that was Jesse Wise. But yet again, they're all going to find a way to sort it out and tuck back down in line. Nonetheless, though, I think now is a good time to take our first break of the night, but we're going to go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be right back for the championship at Kansas. Welcome back to Kansas Motor Speedway for the championship race in the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series. And boy, while we were away, things continue to heat back up because guess who's back? David Traylor in the 54 has retracked down the 87 of Joe Yakes. We've got ourselves a battle for the lead, and don't just think about these two because Eric Hegdahl, he's also now joined the party. You knew that 11 truck would find speed at some point. The reason he came into this race as the leader in points was because he knows how to do this week in and week out. But I mean, Joe Yakes, he's going to have his hands full here for quite a few laps. I mean, probably even from this point until, I don't know, maybe another 10 laps from now, and that's if he can hold on to the lead, which he's got to fight for it here. the clean air here is just so important. There's a point in each one of these runs where eventually, regardless of how much tire you save, that guy who's out in clean air, he's going to find a way to prevail if you stay behind him long enough. And once that groove goes from, maybe 2, 3, even 4 lanes of racing all the way from the bottom to the top down to 1, maybe 2 here near the top, it just becomes so hard to get any clean air on the nose. You start working your tires a lot more, and eventually they start to fade away. And Joe Yates could then start to regroup and try to pull away again, but Trailer only 0.2 of a second back that time as they enter turn number 1, and Eric Hegdahl, he's about 6 to 7/10 of a second back, but he's in the draft of these two, and he continues to catch up. Looks like his truck might be handling a little bit better than the front two, at least the 54 David Trailer. Look at this. He's going to go to the bottom here through 3 and 4, try to get a little bit of clean air, and then he'll duck back up just behind the 54 of David Trailer down the front stretch. Look at the momentum that David's able to get there by sticking on the outside. I mean, he gets clear of Hegdahl, but then actually starts to pull a little bit down the straightaway. And so all this going on, and guess who is also battling? Mark Beverly and Clinton Woodby, the other two Championship 5 contenders. Woodby slid up a little bit there. He had to bail out. Now Stinson is going to bail him out as Jake cuts him a breather there as he jumped behind the 92, allowed him to get up, and even maybe gave him a little push there to try to help keep his momentum going. And so Woodby will lose that spot to Mark Beverly, who's now up 4 positions from where he started. But either way, you've got your Championship 5 currently running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 67 of 155 laps complete. And so if you've got a pick tonight, put it in the chat. Like I said, it's too tough for me to call. I've been able to pick a couple times this season, but I'm not going to be able to pick here tonight. I see 3 trucks right now that all look about equal and continue to race for the lead. And then there's 2 trucks a little bit further back that I think have just as good of a chance as these guys, bearing maybe a couple cautions, especially a couple late ones. But right now it is all Joe Yates out in front doing the same thing to David Trailer that he did during that first run, where those two were swapped positions in stage 1, and Trailer was able to hold on to the clean air long enough to the point where he eventually started to pull away from the 87, who seemed like he was tracking him down for a little bit. And Trailer, who kind of tracked him down, tracked him down rather, and then faded. Seems like he's starting to track him back down here a little bit, as we're going to be coming to 70 of 155 laps complete. Said 70, 69. It'll be 70 at the line next time around. And so David Trailer ran the apron again there. I'm trying to, it's so tough to, like, I guess as a driver, decide what do you want to do different. I mean, he's got options here, but he doesn't want to go too high up the track because he's afraid he, of course, might get into the outside wall. But at the same time, he knows that if he runs right in the wake of Joe Yates, he's just not going to be able to make anything work. As you see, Yates there enters about the same line that Trailer does and then washes up as he runs the outside wall. There you go. That was a good corner there for David Trailer. He was able to gain a little bit, and that gap sitting at just about 0.2 of a second was able to hold even, if not actually close up a little bit right there. And there's the view from out back for David Trailer as he sees Eric Hegdahl trying to reel these two in. And so going to be approaching the halfway mark of this race in probably about 10 laps or so, maybe just a couple less. But the point being, the next green flag pit stop, which would of course be the first green flag pit stop of the night, could be a make or break kind of deal, because with what we've seen here tonight, I got to be honest, I don't foresee a caution potentially at any point in this race. But if we do, I only see there being potentially 1, maybe 2, depending on if it's a late caution. Point being, though, that when you make that pit stop, you gotta make it count. You cannot mess up. Can't speed on entry, can't miss the entry, can't slide through your box, can't speed on exit. If you mess up in any of those categories, there's a chance you could lose the guy that you're racing. And if you do that, without a caution, sometimes it can just be way too hard to try to regain all of that lost ground. But right now, Hegdahl, Trailer, and Yates continue to impress with a 3-truck battle up front, where Joe Yates prevails. Trailer currently a bridesmaid as he sits in second. And then Eric Hegdahl sitting in that last podium position. Well, we have a chance. Let's talk briefly about what the upcoming schedule for the next season of the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series is looking like. Talk about some of the exciting new changes, if you will. I think the biggest one being that we're moving to the Xfinity car, and that the races are going to be a little bit longer, at least for most of the events. So to kick off the season, it'll be the shootout at Atlanta That'll be a short one of 30 laps, and then we head to the World Center of Racing for the season opener, Daytona International Speedway. That one will be 110 laps, followed by Nashville, Chicago, Phoenix, Road America, Rockingham, Las Vegas, Talladega, Iowa, and a whole plethora of other tracks that I know a lot of these drivers really, really like, and I'm sure they're looking forward to it. And then you also look at some of the highlights for the races in the playoffs next season. Kansas making a return, but not as the championship race. That will be held at Homestead Miami Speedway in the Xfinity cars, which of course is where it used to be held in real life just about a handful of years ago or so. Now you've got Auto Club, Darlington, Kentucky, and Daytona, along with North Wilkesboro. All races that are going to be a part of the playoff scheduling or picture, however you want to put it, next season. But here tonight, so far it has been a phenomenal race, and it seems like another trend that every time you get with these championship races is that probably about halfway to any point after halfway, bearing any actual issues or cyclings, the championship 5, they always find a way to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a reason that they're here. They've been the best of the best all season. So while they don't have to, you know, it only makes sense to see them all running in the top 5 right now. And I think that as we continue to go through this race, you're going to see things change around a lot. But David Traylor in the 54, he wants another move here. He's going to take a peek to the inside here of Joe Yates down the front. Oh, I think Traylor got clear. He did. What a move. Joe Yates slipped up, I think, and David Traylor has now taken over the lead here at Kansas. See, does Yates slip up? Oh, he did. He did big time right here. Let's go to the cockpit and take a listen here. Does he just jump the cushion? I'm not really sure. He may have had to, I'm not sure if he half let out. I don't know what happened there to Joe, but he must have felt like he was going to get into the inside wall. Whatever the case may be, he lost that position to David Traylor, who had a heck of a run from out back. And now that David's regained the clean air, you wonder, is that maybe it for Joe Yates? Does he start fading towards the back of the group now? And the only reason I say that is because it seems like that's how it's been here tonight, the way some of these tires have worked out. But Eric Hegdahl, he got up here quick and kind of has since stalled. I wonder if he's just content with cruising around right now or what's going on. But the Mopower Motorsports driver, the last of the trio who has checked out on the rest of the field. All 3 of these guys have about 3 seconds on the next truck back, and that is Jay Stinson in the 98. And so Clinton Woodby, well, I guess I should have said, it's like Clinton Woodby isn't too far back in the 92. He says, yeah, no, he is still about 3 seconds back, so I'm going to take it back again. As we cut up now on 80 laps complete and 2 laps from now. And so pit stops underway. Here we go. David Traylor going to be the first one to pit here tonight. And wow, I'll tell you what, this seems really, really early from what I was expecting, but that's certainly going to change the strategy play up a little bit. I believe now from this point, David Traylor will still be able to make it on a 1-stop after this pit stop that he's getting right here. So let's see what he takes here. Is he going to take 4 tires or is he going to take 2? Remember, they already had to use 1 during that stage break. See the right side go up. Let's see if the left side does the same here once they put it back down. And yep, sure enough. So David Traylor is determined that he wants grip over strategies. He's going to take 4 tires, and hey, you might as well when you've got a lead like this. Now, speaking of his strategy, you wonder how it's going to work out. Does a guy like Joe Yates, Eric Hegdahl, do any of them try to match as close as they can to it, like pitting here either this lap or within the next couple? We'll see how that time split changes, if it matters at all in terms of, at least at this track, how much of a draft you're in. It's going to affect you a little bit, of course, on the straightaways. That's how you're able to close up, but through the corners, it just gives you dirty air, I would have to expect. So the 87 machine of Joe Yates continues to lead the way. Just behind him, Eric Hegdahl. Clinton Woodby up to 3rd now as Jay Stinson in 4th. And Jonathan Herbert back and rounding out the top 5. So with the schedule for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series announced for next season, still working on the broadcast side of things, but whether it's, you know, me, somebody else, whether they've got one, they don't have one, you know, the racing over here is going to be phenomenal. So if you're interested in joining, make sure you check out the AOR Discord link in the description of the video. And just what we saw David Traylor doing earlier to Joe Yates, looks like Eric Hagdahl has now found a way to do the same as he stays right in the footprints here. Is he going to look to make a move here into turn 3? Doesn't look like he will. He's content to stay behind the 87 at Joe Yates, at least for the moment. And, I mean, look how far back some of these guys continue to fall. As though it looks like they're going to make a pit stop here. The 87 of Yates and the 11 of Hagdahl. Boy, they were able to get in late and slowed up. That's a phenomenal job. Now, that's a tough one right there, but... So they'll take 4 tires and fuel as well, and now that'll just leave... Well, we do have to... It's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm trying to figure out if anybody could set up for a 2-tire strategy at the end of this race. I don't really think you can with how much fuel you're going to have to take. I just don't think it's worth it. But you never know. We'll have to see here. Clint Woodby continues to stay out, and here we go. He's going to move down to the pits now, as does Jay Stinson. And I was getting ready to say, I think the reason that some of these guys stayed out as long as they did was just to try to stretch the fuel as far as they could so that they'd have to either take less on the last stop if they were planning on making one more, or making it all the way to the end, which we kind of believe now is, of course, not going to happen. So we'll see what Clint Woodby decides to do right here. And looks like they are going to jack that truck up, so he'll get that fixed and straightened up as we go back live now. We're up front. Jonathan Herbert leads lap 55. The prime hydration 60. The race we had last night. And I didn't mean to say it, I was starting to briefly about the race we had last night. The reason I mentioned that is because the man who's running third, Bill Hales, made his first start over there last night. And he's been doing good job so far here tonight as he sits in that third position again. He's up a spot from where he started this race at. And so it's just 85 laps complete. Pit cycles will continue to loop their way through right here. And as they do, take a quick break. We'll go side by side again so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. Be right back at Kansas. Welcome back to the championship race for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series. If you're just tuning in, or even if you've been tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here and hope that you are having a good Friday evening. Well, I think it's time to check in on some of your championship 5, but before we do, looking at these pit stops that continue to go on. Evan Schilling in the pits. That may be for an unrelated issue, not 100% sure, but Bill Hales making his stop here with 92 of 155 laps complete. And so that leaves, looks like Bill may have decided to call it a night, so that'll hand the lead over now to Kevin Winker, who's going to try to get some laps led for himself. And then Mark Beverly in second decided to go with the earliest pitting strategy of the championship 5 to see if he can maybe undercut these guys enough to fend them off for a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that, unfortunately, as Trailer is going to sneak by on the inside. He'll pick that spot up with no trouble at all. And don't look now, Beverly, but you're going to have a couple more coming here behind. Eventually, Joe Yakes is closing. He's got it down to about 1.5 seconds. Eric Hegdahl, see what he can do as this run continues to go on. But it'll be about 60 laps to go here in just about 2 laps or so. And the reason I bring that up is because still a pretty good ways to go, but starting to wind down just a little bit to the point where you really need to start to try to figure something out. And if, you have the idea already of when you're going to make that next pit stop, but you messed up the first one and you didn't, this one's got to be even better. Cannot make any mistakes getting on or off pit road, or that could potentially, again, be a night ender for a lot of these drivers, which were really hard to get to this point. And Kevin Winker continues to lead the way here in the pink and gray 42 machine. He's got a little bit of lap traffic ahead, it looks like, not much, which, by the way, lap traffic not been an issue the last couple of weeks. You can see here tonight the separation between what is already a small field, but still, point being, the separation between all the drivers. And that's just the way things kind of get strung out through a race that has this long of a run, under green at least. And the only yellow flag that we've seen so far here tonight, I believe, was that incident for the stage, and then, or not the incident for the stage, the incident after the stage. But of course, the stage caution, I am not counting that one. So here we go, Kevin Winker. Looks like he's finally going to decide to bring it down to the pits. We'll see if he just takes 4 tires and fuel here, if he has to get anything fixed or try to change anything. So with his pit cycle here, or rather his pit stop, that is going to hand the lead back over to David Trailer in the 54. Trailer still running the outside, looking at the gap between him and Yakes. I mean, it's pretty impressive, but the good news for Joe Yakes is he's been slowly tracking this 54 down, and you wonder when he gets there, what's he going to do with it? And then, of course, that David Trailer is taking notes right now in his truck saying, well, if he's that fast, then I need to go with maybe the same strategy he is to have a shot. But 97 laps complete puts us with, it's like about 62 laps to go. And so still a very long ways away from crowning the champion here tonight, but so far so good. David Trailer finds himself on the right track up to this point. Here's Clinton Woodby back in that 92 truck, as see him cutting that apron down the front straightaway, getting right next to the grass before he shoots back up. And so if you think about when to expect that next green flag stop, we saw Trailer go in the late lap 70 range, so they might start to be getting close. It may be a next, who knows, 10 to 20 minutes kind of thing. We'll have to see. But with just 99 laps complete, we have still yet to have a caution. Haas Beverly back here battling with Jonathan Herbert in the 88 as David Trailer continues to try to hold on to his lead, but now he's getting ready to be under fire. Here comes the 87 machine, the Chevy Silverado of Joe Yakes, and he's got fresher tires. Does Joe look for the inside move? Yes, he does. Joe Yakes going to see if he can get around before they get off the exit here. He's not going to be able to do it. He'll be stuck on that inside here all the way down the front straightaway. That allows a pretty big side draft for the 54 David Trailer to get, and he will get back clear now of the 87 of Joe Yakes. And remember what we kind of saw earlier, the start of the race specifically, with all the racing we had right out of the gate, and things just continue to wind down. But as it stands, I would have to say this is a 2-car mix for the championship, as Trailer and Hegdahl, or excuse me, Trailer and Yokes currently sit 1-2. And then Eric Hegdahl back in third, Mark Beverly in fourth. Jay Stinson rounds out your top 5. How about a little crank it up here at Kansas? Here we go. All right, and that'll do it for tonight's segment of Crank It Up, because back up front we have got another battle for the lead, and each lead change we see now, you continue to wonder, is that the lead change that wins the championship? Joe Yates pitted 2 to 3 laps at minimum later, and you can see how much the difference it made as it allowed him to now be able to play offense on David Traylor, who's sitting here just trying to play as much defense as he can, but at some point, especially right here, as Yates is going to get to the outside, there's just nothing that 54 can do. Regardless of how hard he tries to drive the truck, just doesn't have the grip for it, so he'll tuck in line just behind the 87 of Yakes. And so now 104 of 155 laps complete as they cross the stripe this time. That'll make it 51 laps to go. I guess I should say it'll be 50 laps to go, 51, however you want to say it. And that's assuming we don't go into overtime. But if we do, boy, that is going to cause a shake-up. We're going to have guys stirring it up left, right, and center. But, I mean, another update on the rest of your championship contenders. Eric Hegdahl still sitting in pretty good position, third. Again, any other week we'd say that's phenomenal, but he knows that he needs to get the win, or at least be the highest finisher of everybody else, and it's not looking too great for that regard right now. And then we've got Mark Beverly, who's back in that fourth position. Fourth position. He's up 4 from where he started his race at. And then Jay Stinson behind him currently rounds out the top 5. Joe still working both lanes just a little bit down the back straightaway, doing anything he can right there to try to break up that draft a little bit. But if Traylor's able to just hold on here, he doesn't have to be faster. He doesn't have to try to make a move to get around him. He certainly could, but I think that if Traylor's just able to even keep up right here until we get to that next pit stop, I think he's still got a really, really good chance. But you also heard him say that he likes learning from some of the other guys, and so I think he was watching them, certain things that they do, and trying to replicate it. But the 54, David Traylor, just continues to pound the rear end of his bumper here, waiting for him to go. Still nothing at this point, so caution is out. Caution is out, and that is going to change a whole bunch of things. It's a Mark Beverly too. That's one of the playoff drivers. How bad's the damage? Looks like the front, at least the hood wise, is pretty clean. Rear end, left side, all looks clean as well. See if we can get a view of the other angle here. Well, I'll tell you what, I certainly did not have that one in the book of cards here tonight with the way we were starting to see things going. But here's what happens to Mark Beverly here. Is he coming off the pits or something? Nope, this is just going to be him getting out of shape and then trying to save it. But unfortunately, maybe getting a little too aggressive there with the steering when he did try to save it. So here we go. Jay starts sneaking up. Well, actually, I take that back. He didn't just get loose. Jay started washing up the racetrack, and that really kind of left no room for Mark, as he was trying to let Jay almost kind of know right here, like, listen, man, I'm there. You got to give it to me. But then once Jay gets up, takes a little bit of nose off the air of Beverly, and as a result, it puts him in that inside wall. And so it looks like he is going to be able to roll out of this one, but he's going to certainly lose quite a bit of track position. And so while we're under caution here with what's going to be 110 now, 155 complete, going to take another quick break, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stay with us. We'll be right back here at Daytona. Welcome back to Kansas Motor Speedway for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series. And while we got a chance here, before we go back green, Clinton Woodby, a little bit of strategy play. Let's see how he's feeling here. Hey Clinton, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, bud.
Well, a little bit of strategy play here. What was the mindset for the call?
Just to hope that I can have a fresh set of tires here at the end and make a run at it, because I have nothing on the long run, it seems like, tonight.
Well, clean air has been an important factor. How hard do you fight to try to hold on to this lead right here?
I mean, I'm going to try, but I don't think I have anything for these guys if they took tires. We'll see, though.
Hey, I like the bold strategy call. We'll see if it pays off with the late caution, but hey, try to defend it off out there. We'll see what happens. Good luck the rest of the way.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
There you go, Clinton Woodby. And that's a bold strategy call, and I'll tell you what, I like it. That's what you got to do. Sometimes you got to come out here, you got to gamble, and it may pay off for Woodby in a huge way, but now with what's going to be just over 40 laps to go, you can feel the intensity starting to pick up. The race is on. Almost the same distance as what was just a stage one. Green flag is back in the air. We're back underway at Kansas. Good restart for Clinton Woodby here. And if you're Clinton, just try to fend him off for any amount of time here is a win, and that's what he's going to do. Cuts off the nose of David Traylor right as they get down to the corner. Traylor's going to wash up. Oh, man, Woodby starts to climb the banking as well, but Traylor's going to get there. Eric Hagdahl with a big move. He's going to look 3 wide down the backstretch. Does Clinton Woodby stay in the middle? He does, but he's going to fall behind Traylor on the entry to the corner. And boy, if that doesn't show you the difference between new versus old tires, then I don't know what does. But remember, this is all about a strategy call for Clinton Woodby. He is saving that set of tires here. He has to. He feels like it's his only chance. The truck maybe not quite handling the way he was expecting it to here tonight. And I'm telling you, if they get a late caution with those fresh tires, he is going to absolutely fly through this field. Now remember, he's talking about that extra set. With the way things have shaped up so far here tonight, everybody took their first set during that stage break. And then since then, everybody has taken, there's at least, I'm not sure if everybody took a set under one of the cautions we had. And then, of course, during that first green flag pit stop, everybody took another set then as well. And actually, it may have been so far through. It's hard to say if how many other guys still have one set laying around, but I mean, if Woodby is having to save a set right now, that definitely makes me question what some of the other championship drivers have got left in the bank for tires. But here's Jay Stinson and Brody Benty as they almost get together there. Stinson slides up. Brody Benty's going to give him a little bit of room to work with. And further back, a lot of these guys that are just struggling right now, and you still wonder if it's all a byproduct of the tire strategy call. By the way, with when we went back green, it was just about a handful of laps or so over 40 to go. So part of me definitely wonders, are they good to go on fuel, or are they expecting that they're going to have to pit again? Again, stage one made 40 laps, and everybody was able to make it that distance. But this run here, if it does go green to the finish, would be a bit longer than that, and that's where you start to throw in some of the questions in terms of who can make it versus who can't. But then if we get a caution at any point from this point out, then everybody is going to be good to go on fuel, and it'll be go in, take tires if you got them, if you don't, stay out, and then the mad scramble to the finish. David Traylor finds himself back in the lead after a couple of interesting sequences between him and Joe Yakes there during that last long green flag run that we had, longest one of the night, by the way. But now that Traylor finds himself back out in front, Yakes nowhere in the picture, I think we're going to see a similar setup to what we saw there through stage one, but don't get too crazy just yet, because Mark Beverly, he's making his way back up here. He's back up to 7th already, and then Joe Yakes in the 87 doing the same, as he sits currently just a spot ahead of that 13 truck. 69 of Jesse Wise back there. There's the 4 of Jesse Calloway. Still sliding behind Haas Beverly. And so 2x2 for the lead. Stinson wants it. Will Traylor let him have it? Looks like he will. David Traylor going to lose that spot, but still stands first in the championship standings for now. Eric Hegdahl moves back to 3rd, 2nd in the championship standings. Joe Yakes 3rd in the standings. Mark Beverly in 4th, and then Clinton Woodby back in 5th. Currently as it stands for the championship. So closing in now on what's going to be 35 laps to go. We just keep narrowing this thing down. Closer and closer to the finish we go. By the way, quick reminder, next place that we do head on Ghost Racing Network is going to be over tomorrow night to the NOMA Truck Series, which a lot of these guys do run in, so make sure you stop by, check that one out, as those guys are currently in the middle stints of their playoffs. And in fact, tomorrow is going to open up, I believe sure enough, going to open up the round of 8, so we'll be at Chicagoland. Should be another good mile and a half. Make sure you tune in for that one. Looking forward to that. All right, so 3 wide. What is Mark Beverly thinking here? Yes, sir. He's going to look to the middle here. Joe Yakes, who's had that position. Beverly feels like it's go time, so he's looking for it here. And I think Kevin Winker is going to give that spot up to a degree for those two as they get in the corner. I don't know if he tried to or not, but he certainly did fade right there. And so now Mark Beverly will get clear as he's going to jump up. There's the 87 of Joe Yakes, still side by side, but now that Beverly's got the preferred line. We'll see if he can get clear here of Yakes through 3 and 4. By the way, these two battling where they stand right now are about 1.3 seconds back from the lead, and they still have some traffic that they have to work through here, including the 63 of Brody Benty, and then Eric Hegdahl, Jay Stinson just in front of him. So if you're David Traylor at this point, what does the strategy shift to? Do you maybe try to save some tire here, play it conservative in case we get that late caution? Do you start pushing the pace, try to build a gap? It's a tough call, because again, you know, if we're going to go green the rest of the way, maybe he tries to do what he's done the entire race so far, and that's try to build that gap. But if he's thinking that there's a chance we could have a late caution, then maybe he's trying to just take it as easy as he can here without losing any more spots to, have some tire in case this thing gets a late caution, but at the same time, still maintain that track position and the lead in the championship in case this thing happens to go green all the way. Either way, what a win this would be for a lot of the drivers in the field, but even Jay Stinson. I know he's not fighting for a championship, but last win this season and first win came at Kentucky. And that's a 1.5 miles that doesn't quite run the same as what we see here at Kansas, but point being, he'd like to hit up victory lane one more time before the season's over if he could. And he's had a couple of good shots at the lead. We saw this earlier. I think it was in stage 1 actually towards the end where he caught trailer, looked faster, but then after getting caught in that dirty air for a while, just couldn't really do anything else with him. But now that he's got that clean air, you wonder what can he himself do with it. Hegdahl, he's starting to get a little bit more impatient here. He's been searching around the racetrack, looking low, looking high, to find any way to get around the 54 of David Traylor, but he hasn't had any luck just yet. Joe Yates, Mark Beverly have gotten that duel settled back down as Yates has reclaimed that position over Mark Beverly. So, by the way, quick shout out to everybody in the chat here tonight, as looks like Melvin Young in here says, let's get it done, Clinton. Tyler Allen rooting on Clinton Whitby as well. David Traylor, good to see you in here. I think that's David's dad, Colton Hardy. Good luck, boys. Good to see you in here, Colton. Wild Will, Nicole Scadaffi, and then Mr. Doge, Class Clown over here. And then looks like we got a couple others. But nonetheless, again, appreciate everybody tuning in here tonight for these guys for the final time this season. Seems like we got quite a few Clinton Whitby fans out, and I'm not necessarily allowed to root for anybody particularly, but what I'll tell you what I am rooting for is to see a late caution. I'm not going to lie, I want to see it just because I really want to see how that strategy would play out for Clinton Whitby if we were to get that late caution. I think it would certainly be something pretty interesting and pretty exciting to watch in a short run to the finish. Boy, this was a big moment off a rather in 3 and 4 here for Jay Stinson after he lost the lead to Traylor just about a lap ago here. Trying to see where the pass happened, if it was Stinson making a mistake here off of 2 potentially, or did David just get a good run? I think David just gets a good run right here. Looks like he does. Yeah, he just gets a great run there. He gets to the outside, but then this was just about a lap, maybe a lap and a half ago here for Stinson, as this was a big moment. This could have potentially been that caution that Clinton Whitby was looking for here. Let's watch the 98 here. This is through 3 and 4. He's going to enter high, but again in dirty air and just gets a little bit on the tighter side and tries to get in the throttle. He's turning, but the truck just, front tires won't bite, and once he gets in that wall, it's just really tough to get out of it. Finally does, but loses a whole bunch of momentum and a bunch of track position to go with it. So he falls all the way back to behind the 63 of Brody Benty and rounds out the top 5 now. Meanwhile, look at this development. Joe Yates, he's finally made his way through all the traffic. He's up to 3rd, and he'll be searching for the leaders here in a little bit. Also, Mark Beverly continues to try to crawl his way through the field, but he's kind of come to a stalemate in that 6th spot. Jay Stinson, Brody Benty, the only 2 ahead of him, separating him from some of the other championship contenders. And oh boy, well, this is not good. Clinton Whitby has fallen a lap down, and I'm not sure what put him a lap down here. Let's see. I'm not really sure here, unless the 92 maybe pit. Whatever the case may be here, that's again a really bad break. The good news for Whitby is that he's the only truck a lap down, as Bill Hales and Evan Schilling have both retired from this race, but hey, he's going to need that caution. He's going to need it sooner. I think that 92's chances are going to be potentially all but over. Eric Hegdahl, boy, he's been silent tonight, but he's been continuing to creep inside the podium. I'd say the top 3 trucks here tonight have pretty clearly been David Traylor, Eric Hegdahl, and Joe Yates. Beverly and Whitby have had a couple of their moments tonight, but I think they're still struggling a little bit in the long run right now. We'll see if that changes. And then, of course, with Whitby being a lap down, doesn't matter what speed he's got at this point. He is nowhere near the leaders, and he is going to need to get a caution. As you see, Whitby all the way back right now in that, I think he's in the 12th spot. He's in the 13th spot. So as it currently stands, he is just now working into turn 3 as the leaders work their way off of turn 4. But David Traylor now sees 25 laps to go and a championship within his grasp. Again, not sure who won the championship last season, but I don't believe that it was David Traylor. It may have been. I don't think it was, though. I'm not sure if it was any of these guys, as a matter of fact, we have in the top 5. Of course, this is the first season I've been on board with these guys, and what a season that it's been. They've put on just phenomenal racing week in and week out, and as a driver, I mean, the amount of laps that these Championship 5 have put in, not only through the regular season, in the playoffs, but also just through practice laps, trying to get better and better. And, you know, you look at the story for David Traylor specifically right now and how frustrating it was. I mean, through the first portion all the way through halfway to the season, I mean, we just kept talking to him, you know, getting top 3 finishes, but just couldn't get the win. He had the speed, he led the laps, but either just bad luck or just not being able to capitalize once in a while led to the 54, struggling to find victory lane for the longest time. But then finally, the breakthrough came at Michigan International Speedway, where he found victory lane in the Irish Hills for the first time this season. Only time since, but that win was all he needed to propel himself all the way through into the playoffs, and that consistency helped get him to where he is now, into this Championship 5 appearance, with a chance to potentially make history. He can add his name to the record books as an Asphalt Outlaws Racing champion. He's got 22 laps left to try to do it. All right, we're going to take one more break. It'll be our final one of the night. We're going to go side by side. We will be back for the finish and all that it's going to include. Stick with us to crown a champion here at Kansas. Welcome back to Kansas Motor Speedway, closing in on crowning a champion here tonight in the season finale. David Traylor continues to lead the top 3, all some of your Championship 5 drivers, with Eric Hegdahl in second and Joe Yakes in third. Traylor right now leads by half a second, and with just what's going to be 15 laps to go, this is it. It's on from here. There is no more tire saving. This is, you got to get up on the wheel and you have got to go for it. Eric Hegdahl, Joe Yakes, I think they know that, and I think they might limit how much they're racing each other here unless they feel like one is holding the other up. because they have got to find a way here to catch up to this 54. Now, granted, they are both in the draft, but they just can't seem to quite close up. David Traylor has that clean air now that he knows he doesn't necessarily have to worry about saving a ton of tire anymore. He's just taking off laps as quick as he can. Now, I will say, as they get closer, this is going to get even trickier. Boy, Hegdahl had a great corner that time. Joe Yakes, not so much. He's going to lose about 1/10 of a second, as Eric Hegdahl is going to gain just about 1/2 tenth. And so if you're David Traylor right here, boy, I cannot imagine the roller coaster that he's going through in his head right now. He wants to see this thing, I would have to assume, probably go green the rest of the way with the gap he's got. But if it starts to close up, then you start to mirror drive, and you can't let yourself do that. You got to keep all eyes out in front and just do what you can do out of the windshield. And right now, I mean, he is on rails. You can hear just how much he is playing with the throttle in that truck. He is trying to make sure that he does not make a mistake, doesn't want to get into that outside wall, but also wants to make sure that he is pushing the limit, using every bit of life out of these tires by the time this race is over. Eric Hegdahl, the onboard viewed again, running about the same line, but just getting caught in a little bit of the wake of the 54. The draft helps him on the straight, but here you go. He's going to try something different. He realizes that. Now he's going to try to make a shot back down to the bottom as Joe Yakes runs the same exact line. Traylor got up the racetrack there. Did he potentially hit the wall? I couldn't tell, but either way, Hegdahl caught a 10th there through 3 and 4. And so Traylor's going to have to settle it back down here a little bit. As that gap, again, I think if Hegdahl gets to within, I would say 2/10 of a second, maybe even within 3/10 of a second, he can really start applying the pressure here and potentially get Traylor to make a mistake. But they're just too far back. Even if you're close enough to maybe try, I don't know, loosening him up, doing something on that final lap, but with where it stands now, he's just not nearly close enough as we take 11 laps to go. Further back in the field, see how the other two are doing. Mark Beverly sits in that 6th spot. As right now, I think Mark is hoping that maybe we can get a caution here. Something that would give this 13 one more chance at it here. But as it stands, I think he's just got too much traffic with the amount of laps remaining to try to track down your leader. And then, of course, Clinton Woodby, who sits a lap down right now, still hoping that he could get that caution. Jesse Calloway sits in 13th. He is also a lap down, but Woodby is the higher running of the lap down cars, so he would be in the free pass position if we were to get that caution. And so I just wondered now, is, what would these guys have tried to do different on that restart if they would have known how this was going to go? Again, this is one of those tracks here tonight that it almost seemed like saving tires maybe wasn't the way to go. It almost seemed like trying to hold on to that clean air was so much more important that you could afford to burn up more tire doing so, and then kind of reap the rewards by having that clean air after about 20 laps or so. And that's exactly what David Traylor has been doing. Once he took the lead here, he got the job done in stage 1, got the victory there, but talked about a job not finished by getting the win there. He wants to get the win of the race, and he is just 8.5 laps away from doing so. And it is going to be the longest 8.5 laps that he has ran all season long. We'll go through one more run through of the field here before we keep it up front. Actually, hold that thought, because Hegdahl trying to close it up a little bit more that time. Hegdahl chose the bottom of the racetrack, and that's why he closed it up through the corner, but you can see he's going to lose it a little bit through the straightaway. And turn 1 and 2 is that corner where it's kind of tough to want to go to the bottom unless you're looking for a slide job. It's really a top group preferred corner, but then 3 and 4, that's where it opens up a little bit because you're going a little bit slower on entry, so you can afford to shoot to the bottom of the racetrack and run it a little bit smoother. But I mean, Hegdahl, he's searching right now. He's been up, down, middle, anywhere that he could potentially find some speed. Meanwhile, Joe Yakes, not sure if he just finally used up his stuff or if he hit something, but that 87 has now fallen over a second behind these two, almost a second and a half now. So I would say he is about out of it, again, without a caution, that is. And so one more run through the field real quick before we keep it back up front. Evan Schilling retired from this race, as is Bill Hales in the 53. Jesse Calloway, the last running truck on track, sits in that 13th position. And this Clinton would be in 12th, with Jonathan Herbert in 11th. Lance Thompson in 10th. Good recovery from him and a good run so far tonight. Kevin Winker in 9th. Haas Beverly in 8th, with Jesse Wise in 7th. And then Mark Beverly in 6th. Brody Benty in 5th. Jay Stinson 4th. Joe Yakes in 3rd. Eric Hegdahl 2nd. And David Traylor leading the way here at Kansas. Hegdahl still within drafting range. As long as he's within the draft, you can't count him out. But unless he can get closer before we get to probably 2 to go, I just don't think he's going to have enough here. He continues to search, and well, I was just going to say trailer hit the wall. That's his mistake that he needs, but Hegdahl made a little bit of contact with the wall too, following in that wake. So whatever he was able to gain there was very minimal. Wasn't able to gain nearly as much as he initially could have. Wow, man, these two are pushing it for all it is worth right now. I mean, any sort of hiccup, and this thing's over for either one of them. If trailer gets into the wall any more than just a kiss, he's going to be in trouble. As there you go, Hegdahl going to take it back to the bottom of the racetrack. Again, he's just looking to switch things up here. Anything that could potentially get him a run on the 54. He hasn't found it yet, but that's what you got to do. You got to keep trying here. 4 to go. And at turn number 1, Hegdahl going to go back to the high side. It seems like that's been working best for him here. And if he saved a little bit more tire, then he has got to be just hoping right now that David's stuff will fall off at any point, but it just hasn't happened yet. Hegdahl ducking the left side nose of his F-150. Oh, he's in the wall. Eric Hegdahl gets to the wall. It's going to cost him 3/4 tenths, and that is going to do it. The 11 broke the cushion. He pushed it, and he finally pushed it a little bit too far. That's going to give David Trailer that extra half a second, and it now goes from breathing room to a safety cushion, as now the 54 is going to turn his eyes away from the rearview mirror and back out the windshield, because he has got less than 3 miles to go when he takes across the flag this time, rather. But we still got to make it to that white flag for this race to be official. 2 to go for David Trailer. Trying to hold on. You know he wants it right now. He is doing everything to make sure he doesn't make a mistake. And tell you what, now that he has got that second gap, I think he's going to bring it off that outside wall here just a little bit. He can afford to give up just a little bit in this next lap and a half, because he's got a gap built now at over a second. Jay Stinson has taken third away from Joe Yakes. He's also out of it. 1.2 seconds the gap as he'll cross the line. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go to become a champion. Can David Trailer do it? He has been money all night. There's been a couple times through the season where he has been in this position. Things didn't work out. A lot of times he came home a bridesmaid after being in a situation like this all race. But not tonight. He found a way to win. He stayed consistent. It got him to the playoffs, kept his head down, got all the way through to the round of 10, made it to the championship 5, and look at this, off of turn 4, how about it? He will be crowned a champion of the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series. David Trailer wins it at Kansas. Your season champion finishes the season with 2 wins, brings home his second one in the championship race. You see the excitement there. He's going to be pumped about this one, I can tell you that. He'll bring it around and celebrate. Man, I'll tell you what I just saw there at the end was something that I don't think I've ever seen simulated in iRacing as close as it is to real life. In terms of, remember when these guys used to run Homestead, and when I say these guys, I meant the NASCAR drivers in real life, when they used to run Homestead, and you had always that battle between 2 or 3 drivers at the end of a race where they would all get up by the wall, and it was just who could run, who could push that cushion, run closer and closer to the wall without making that mistake. And well, I'll tell you what, Yakes, Hegdahl, and Trailer put on an absolute show there in the last 20 to 25 laps of that race. And then it went down to Hegdahl and Trailer. Hegdahl finally made a mistake as he tried to hunt him down. And then Trailer, Mr. Consistent and Mr. Clutch tonight, comes through in a big way. All right, looks like he is going to go ahead and park it there for now. And so as he does so, and the celebrations may continue here for David Trailer, take a chance here to look at the finishing results here for the night. David Traylor, again, your winner and your season champion for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series. Eric Hegdahl brings home second. Jay Stinson in third. Joe Yakes in fourth. Brody Benty in fifth. Mark Beverly back in sixth with Haas Beverly in seventh. Jesse Wise eighth. Kevin Winker ninth. And Lance Thompson rounding out your top 10. Jonathan Herbert finishes 11th. Clinton Woodby in 12th. Jesse Calloway 13th. Bill Hales in 14th. And Evan Schilling in 15th. All right, we're going to go get your top 3 in here for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Kansas. All right, going to start first here tonight with your third place finisher, Jay Stinson. Jay, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, what's up, Austin? How are you, man?
Good. Well, I'll tell you what, you came in here tonight. You weren't fighting for a championship, but for a while there, it looked like you were fighting for a win, had good speed overall, and you managed to bring home a podium finish. How'd you feel about tonight's race?
Yeah, mixed emotions. I felt good. Like, I thought I had a fast truck. I guess me and Mark come off of 1 and 2 there, somewhere around lap 107 or 108, and just it caused a caution. And Mark's in the championship 5, I'm not, and so I always think and try to go back and look at it, see if I did something wrong there. I don't feel like I did, but obviously it caused him to check up or hit the wall or whatever I did, so I feel bad about that. Other than that, I really feel great about the run. I thought I had good speed and did the right things and tried to treat all the guys with respect that were in the championship 5. I got caught up in that. I thought I made it clean, but I may not have. Go back and look at it.
Well, sometimes things happen, but nonetheless, a good run here tonight to round out a good season. We didn't quite see you all the way from the start, had to miss a couple races, but overall, what can you take from this season to build on next season?
It was a lot of fun. I love running with these guys. They're all respectful, all good guys, all fast, very talented. Traylor is a top-notch guy. Couldn't ask for a better champion in this league, I don't think. He's always respectful, great racer, runs clean. It's just can't wait for next year. It's been fun.
Certainly has, as we were taking a view of that incident between you and Mark Beverly there. But hey, we certainly appreciate you talking to us here tonight. So for the final time this season, before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
You for broadcasting, man. It's always great to go back and watch these things. The Beverleys for putting this thing on, all the sponsors that they have. Mark, Tyler, Haas for allowing me to come in here and race. That's just another reason why I kind of feel bad that that even happened, because I wouldn't do anything to ruin anybody's race, and I hope that it didn't. I know the caution came out, so that was nice that it was able to come out and then him get set back up and try to go for it, but just feel bad it happened. And thank my teammates, White Knuckle Racing in here with Brody and Colton. It was fun, and look forward to doing it again next year.
Sounds good. Well, again, thanks for talking to us, Jay. Congrats on the third place finish, and we will see you hopefully next season, or actually we'll see you tomorrow night in Noma.
Yes, sir. And just one more congratulations to Traylor. Great season, man.
Absolutely. All right, now that's going to bring us to your second place finisher here tonight, Eric Hegdahl. Eric, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, you come up just a bit short. I'll tell you what, you were digging there at the end. Last 20 laps, it was you, Yakes, and Traylor. Then it was just you and Traylor. You were doing everything. Was there anything else that you could have done? Was there anything you wish you would have tried different on the restart? I mean, break us down through that last run.
Yeah, that last run. That restart. I got a good restart. Made it 3 wide on Clinton and David. And I had a shot to get by, David on that restart after we got, 1-2, and I decided to, just kind of give up the lead and get in behind them, trap with them so I can save some fuel, because I knew it was going to be pretty close, and I saved a lot more than I probably needed to. So I just got stuck in this dirty air, really. I run the bottom the entire race, the entire week through practice, and the outside was just a lot better than I was anticipating tonight, and that kind of got me. But overall, David, he drove a hell of a race. I feel like if that last caution doesn't come out, I felt like I was in a good spot to win it though, because I was running David down, I was running Joe down. It's like this could be our night, but didn't work out.
Well, it may not have worked out, but overall you put together a phenomenal season, multiple wins to build off of. And again, I want to ask you kind of the same question that we just asked Jay. What can you take from this season to move on to next season?
Well, definitely got some momentum. I think I had top fives in almost every playoff race this season, if not all. But it definitely a fun season. I know Xfinity cars are next season, and I think I'm a lot better in Xfinity than I am trucks. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to doing this again next season.
Sounds good. Well, we appreciate you talking to us here tonight. So before we let you head out for the final time this season, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, shout out to you for putting on the broadcast this season. I think the best broadcasts we've had since I've been in the league. The Beverleys for putting on the league. Sonic Graphic Design, winning bid Diecast auctions. David, Joe, Clinton, Mark. It's been a great season. A lot of good racing battles, and can't wait for more.
Indeed. Well, again, one more time, thanks for talking to us here tonight, Eric. Congrats on that second place finish. Congrats on a great season overall, and we'll see you next time.
See you, buddy.
All right, and now that'll bring us to your season champion and race winner, David Traylor. David, this is all set up in the booth. You got a copy?
I got you, Austin.
Well, you get your second win of the season, and what a time to do it. You are the season champ. First of all, how does that feel?
Man, it's surreal. After the season, I had lots of seconds, lots of just weird kind of heartbreak situations. For it to actually fall my way, everything kind of went according to plan, and it felt pretty good doing it. It's pretty awesome.
Well, we were just talking with Eric Hegdahl about that battle at the end between you two, and almost reminded me of some of the battles that we used to see in the Real Life Cup Series when they were back at Homestead. You were both up top by the wall. You guys were running just about as hard as you could. I mean, what was going through your head there? We saw you banging off the wall. I mean, was it a matter of you had to run as hard as you could? I mean, just what was going through your mind through those last 20 laps?
Yeah, so there after that last caution, I knew it was going to be really close on fuel, but I also knew that, like I said earlier, track position was key. So I knew who I had to race. So I had to keep track position on the guys I was racing against. That's why I kind of let the 98 go. I could live with him winning the race. I was kind of keeping my eyes on the bigger prize there. But yeah, it was. I was pretty much driving those last about 45 laps at about 95%. I felt like I had probably the best long run speed. Once you got that clean air, it was hard to beat. So pretty much like you said, running right there by the wall. Slim margin for error. I definitely hit it once or twice. It'll hurt you if you do, but that's the way to be fast.
And you were certainly fast here tonight. Well, I'll tell you what, now that you've got that championship under your belt, how do you take what you gained from this season, and what's going to be the goal next, either in this league or another league?
I don't know. I'm gonna enjoy some Fridays off. It's gonna be nice knowing I won the last time I competed. That's always great. If you can go out on top, that's great. But it's cool. I was scared to death of Kansas coming in here, so I actually learned a lot. I probably ran 300 laps of practice this week trying to figure this place out. Last year in Noma, this track killed me and it eliminated me from the playoffs. So I put my time in, so I feel good. I know how to drive the trucks now. I kind of actually like the last update we had. I love the way they drive. It feels amazing, and I'm glad I kind of got to showcase that here tonight.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you head out to go celebrate your championship for the final time this season, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thanks to my teammates. First, they were there all season, even the ones that weren't here tonight. Keith, Rick, Evan, Brody. Without those guys, kind of helped me through the races, telling me where these guys are, how to be fast. This doesn't happen. I just kind of run blind here. thank you to you, obviously, and Ghost Racing Network. It's a phenomenal broadcast. It not only Ghost Racing Network, but you in general. I loved watching the PGR race last night. Thank you to Mark for putting this league on. This is my second year here, and this is a great group of guys. We'll race hard. I definitely race these guys extra hard tonight, but it's always clean. It's always super fun, and you can't ask for much more than that. It's always competitive. And then thank you to JC Newman, Mushroom Top T, Rick LePage Designs, Sonic Graphic Designs, and then all the sponsors with the rest of the league, Sonic Graphic Design, Nirjuana, and the rest of them that make all this possible for us. And then thank you to my dad watching at home. He's always a great supporter of mine, and my fiance in the living room who cheered me on as I crossed the finish line tonight.
There you go. Well, thank you for talking to us again, David. Congrats on the win. Congrats on the championship, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Austin.
All right. Well, that's just about going to wrap up coverage here tonight. And interestingly enough, we took a look back at that incident that Jay was referring to that brought out one of the cautions that I think we had missed at the time because we were looking over strategy or something of the sort. Point being that with Mark Beverly and Jay Stinson, that one's a tough one. It certainly did look like Jay split up. Mark not expecting it. That's what kind of put Mark in the wall, I think. But it's just hard racing. And, hearing how bad Jay felt about it there, you certainly know that it's one of those things that he didn't mean to do. But at the end of the day, that certainly hurt Mark Beverly's chances. And you can understand the frustration potentially from him as well. But, man, what a race here tonight. Kansas did not disappoint. Trailer, Hegdahl, and Yakes there at the end were phenomenal. Came down to Hegdahl and Trailer. And then guess who prevailed? David Trailer, Mr. Consistency. And so after a crazy season for him and a great season of racing, he is your champion. I want to thank you all so much that have tuned in not only tonight, but throughout this entire season. It's been a pleasure broadcasting for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series. Again, don't know yet what the plans are for these guys with next season, but whether it's me, somebody else, broadcast, no broadcast, these guys in this league, they know how to race. They put on a phenomenal product, and so you better believe it's going to be another great season next time around. Final time, signing off for tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning out. I hope you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on Ghost Racing Network. Until next time, have a good night.